Welcome back, folks, to Fishing Planet. Today we're going to do a top 10 mistakes that new players make. And the reason I'm doing this is so hopefully you have a better experience. And a lot of these things on these lists I've done as a low level as well. I actually was going to do a top 5 as I started the list, and then I started to think about more and more things. So hopefully this list will help you out. And I do daily videos on Fishing Planet, so if you find this helps you, I do videos every day that may help you out as well, so consider subscribing, guys. But I want to make this video short, so let's get started. Okay, folks, we're going to be doing these in order too of importance, so number 1 being the most important. But we're going to start at number 10 here. We're going to use White Moose Lake as a example, but sometimes, guys, you don't want to go to a lake right when you unlock it. For example, at White Moose Lake, you unlock it at level 22, and that's probably too early to go there, and this is the reason why, folks. So at 22, your keep net, we're going to go over there and look at your keep net at a level 22 player. You can see here that at 22, you can only catch a fish that is 15 pounds and 66 total weight. All right. So if you're level 22 and you go to White Moose, the best money making fish there is a unique lake trout, which get up to almost 50 pounds. So not only can you not put that in your bag, but even if you could, your keep net would be almost full off of one fish. Not to mention, at 22, you just don't have the rods to pull them in. For example, at 22, you're looking at a 13-pound jig winner. You're really going to want, or the Thora, and this is going to be quite a fight on a lake trout. For example, when I fish lake trout, I generally will use a pull more on the lines of a Zeus. At number 9, we have buying DLCs for the wrong reason. I am completely for buying DLCs if that's what you want to do, but please be smart about it. If you're a day 1 and you're fishing at Lone Star over here where they're 2-pound fish and you're just learning how to catch fish, buying a DLC that takes you to Blue Crab is probably going to hurt you, as you're going to go to Blue Crab and not how to catch certain fish because you haven't experienced the natural progression of the game. Now, like I said, I'm completely for buying DLCs, and I think Fishing Planet themselves would agree. Buying a DLC just to get somewhere and not be happy is not going to keep you around in this game very long, and you're not going to be very happy. I definitely would buy DLCs more when you kind of have an idea of where you want to go, or maybe later in the game for certain rods that look cool. For example, this is a DLC rod. It looks really cool, and stuff like that. At number 8, guys, we have people worrying about money farm way too much, and for a couple reasons. But the first reason is a lot of times people are going to sit one place like Emerald Lake or maybe sturgeon farming at California, and they're just going to get burnt out on the game. It's not fun. And another reason is there is, I even have a guide on this, there is a way to make money at every lake with the proper gear. And generally, their lakes, as you scale, do make more money. For example, there's kind of this notion going around that you should sit at Emerald Lake forever on walleye. I would not recommend that, as it's not very fun after a day or two. It's, do it for a little bit, but you're going to want to move to, for example, you'll actually make more money per your hour at Naharan 2 levels later catching bass and stuff like that. At number 7, and this is actually a pet peeve of mine after doing some research on it as well, don't worry about your green arrows as much as most people are on your poles when you catch a fish. People will fight a fish for way too long just to get 3 green arrows in the same time frame that you can actually catch 3 of them fish, gain more XP and more money in that same time frame. just because you have 3 arrows on one fish doesn't mean you're actually getting the most XP you can in your time frame, guys. I actually have a video about this. I'll link down below too. It's a myth about leveling. But anyway, on to the next one, folks. At number 6, this is one that I see way too often, and that is setting your poles correctly. This is something that even I see some higher level players do, or people even in their own other videos do, and not have set up properly. But if you guys have your settings right here set so you can see on Pro, so you can see the 3 bars, them 3 bars should be pretty equal. They shouldn't be too higher than the other or something like that. They should be pretty close. And what you're going to want to do is set these poles up to be similar sizes. Starting at level 8, guys, you can basically balance any pole. And I'll go through some setups that are pretty balanced really quick for you here, but I'm going to be putting out a guide on this. But you can, for example, you can see that this is a 10-pound pole, a 10-pound line, and a 9.9-pound setup. So this is a very ultimately balanced setup here. And you can do that at every stage of the game. This is here. You can stop and pause if you want to see the setup. But this is a level 8 setup that you can get. And you can see these all the way through the game progress. This is a 13-pound one. And this one, now keep in mind it's a DLC pole, but you can buy the same exact pole in the shop that isn't DLC with these same setups, and as well as this one here. And you can see that you can pretty much balance about almost any pole pretty close here, guys. At number 5, this is not upgrading your keep net or stringer. This is something I see way too often. This is your most important piece of equipment in the game. You're going to want to level this up pretty often. Now, there's times where you're maybe not going to want to go from this one to, for example, this one, because there's not that much of a difference. But in most cases, you're going to want to buy the new keep net or stringer. I actually, when you're newer to the game, I recommend when you can get the stringer and it makes sense to do that because it is cheaper to repair. The one difference being is on a stringer, you cannot throw fish back. That's the only difference. Okay, at number 4 is something I'm very guilty of, and that's loose stuff you can't get back. The prime example of this would be the Gollum lure. Most people at my level have actually already lost it. I would say 80 to 90% of people have already lost it. That's something you're going to want to take care of, but there are mission lures and stuff like that, and even X Series gear you're going to want to take care of and not lose, as well as DLC items. Just because you think you lower level and there's a pole you don't like, you may like it later, and I'm a person that has done that as well too. But for those of you guys that have lost your Gollum lure, like everybody else that's high level, why don't you guys comment below so low level people know to make sure to take care of that gear that they can't get back. One thing I recommend too is maybe not even catching the Gollum monster just so you can get that lure back if you need to. Because once you catch him, you can't get that lure back if you lose it again. At number 3, guys, we have spending your bait coins incorrectly. I have a whole video about this, so I'm not going to get into details, but I'll leave it down in the description if you want to get more detail about this. But I wouldn't recommend buying advanced licenses till late in the game and you know you're going to go places a lot, whether it be comps or whatever it is. But wasting bait coins is one thing you see way too often. For example, going to Brazil and spending 2,400 essentially bait coins just to save yourself $12,000 every time you go there, even though one shark can, you can cash in on way more than what that license costs. So a lot of cases, one fish can pay for that 1-day license. So in a lot of scenarios, it's a waste of time to getting advanced licenses, unless you're going there for comps all the time or something like that. And also, I see this too often as well when it comes to gear, reels, stuff like that. You're not necessarily going to want to buy let's go into these right here. Uh, See people buying bait coins for gear, and I definitely wouldn't be doing that. I would be saving them for lures and tackle and stuff like that for barbless and whatnot. But this is something I see way too often, and I'll leave that video down in the description for you guys. At number 2, folks, it is not doing amateur comps. And this is very important because this gives you a very good opportunity to get X Series gear. And there are videos like myself or Krellick on how to catch particular fish or particular comps that will help you out. But you can see you can get very good X Series gear. This is a very important when it comes to school bass. Even though it's not technically considered an amateur's comp, it actually is because of the maximum level requirement. You're really going to want to do this when you're level 3 through 13 because you can't do it again later, and there's a challenge for doing all comps, so you're going to want to make sure you get that. But I'm going to go back here just to show you guys here, for example, on amateurs, some of these scores are pretty easy to go ahead and do, and it's pretty easy to get into the top 3 to get this gear that you're seeing down here, and most comps have different gear, and this is going to help you out a lot. Don't be afraid of amateur comps. Go ahead and do them. You'll be much happier if you do, and I think a lot of people at my level, that would be one of the things, advice they would give people, is do amateur comps, especially school bass, because you only get one chance of doing that. And real quick, before we get to number 1, there is some honorable mentions that could have made the list, and for one of them, it is going over to templates, and not enough people use their templates. For example, I don't put on tackle or hooks or lures so that I can just switch it out to go to a lake real quick. For example, we can just flip this to the value spin just as quick as that. And also, guys, we're going to go to Lone Star Lake for the next honorable mention real quick here. And you should be using your map markers. Now, I don't know exactly what button it is for everybody, but if you should be using your map markers to really help you out with certain fish. But you can pull up your map on PS4 or PS5 by hitting triangle. I'm not exactly sure what the other controls are anymore, as I only play PS4 and 5 version. But anyway, guys, when you pull up your map, you can see all these little marks that I have across the lake here. Let's go over here, for example, so you can see these. But you can see right here that I have, we have a little glitch right now in the game. There we go. Where I have markers for fish across the lake. That's also to mark a deep spot. You can use them that way, or another deep spot there, but you can actually use them for fish, and you can save information on them as well, guys. At number 1, I see people trying to level way too quick, and there is so much to do in this game that getting to max level is one of the least things you should be concerned about. There's amateur comps, there's missions for every lake. You're going to want to try to catch fish, almost every fish in every lake like I have. And coming from a person that's done all missions and everything that's in the game current, you're going to want to take your time and go through this and just enjoy yourself. Going back in time, I wouldn't have cared about when I got to max level at all. There's so much to do in the game, and just enjoy it, guys. That's really one of the best things about the game, and you can fish however you would like to fish and take your time and do what you would like to do, guys. Hopefully this guide helps you out. If it did, consider sticking around to the channel. But otherwise, have a great day, tight lines, and we'll see you next time, folks.